What is up, everyone? Welcome back to episode 6 of the SourceCast. I am the fairest of them all, cat daddy of them all, iTanto. And with my special guest tonight, we have the illustrious and also devilishly handsome Kisogo. He is also muted, everyone. Perfect.
Cheers so much. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh my
Pro level right
god.
here, guys. Pro
Oh,
level.
of course, of
Let's.
course. Kiesel just hasn't been doing this, for the good past of how long? So, Kiesel, people that don't know you, that are new to you, give us a brief rundown who you are and what you do.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. My name is Kisogo or Kiso. You can call me either. I'm a narrative and story game player. I'm a voice actor. I also am a food and beverage hospitality professional of over a decade. I've been in the industry for over a decade. I'm a craft cocktail bartender, a restaurateur, and I love food and drink. So that's like kind of my jam. I also a big fan of storytelling, characterization, character acting, things like that as well.
Yeah, and Crow, I'm sure you're already in there already, but please give Kisogo, or I like to call him Kiso, a shout out. Everyone, go to his streams, check out his, because the last year on was a Final Fantasy. Which one was it again?
Final Fantasy VII. It was my redemption arc in Final Fantasy VII. Do you know
This,
why it was my redemption arc?
why was it?
It was my redemption arc because I played Final Fantasy VII back when it first released, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I played it for like 2 weeks straight, and this is back when PS1 era. So like
Oh yeah.
I was like 2 weeks into the game. My save game got corrupted on my memory card, and I was so devastated. I have not touched it since. So this year, I was determined. I was like, man, I've got to finish. This is my redemption arc. I'm going to finish this game, and I'm very, very glad I did. It was amazing. Definitely can see why the hype was up there for that. But essentially, it was like my first playthrough because I don't
Okay.
remember
Oh
anything
yeah.
about that game. You know what I mean? So
No, it's been
yeah,
plenty of years,
yeah.
since then. And I remember the good old PS1 days where if you had your save was just corrupted, there's nothing you could do.
Nothing you can do.
Absolutely nothing. So I
Not
don't
at all.
blame you at all.
Yeah.
But no,
I was
everyone
devastated, man. Devastated.
definitely watches his streams, especially when he's playing these type of games. They are so enjoyable to watch. And then Kiso
you're,
just also
you're too kind.
he has some amazing tangents he goes through on his streams as well.
Listen, I have a lot of interests. That's
You,
really what it is. I have a lot of interests.
he is a man of many talents. But today, guys, what we're doing is the past couple episodes, it's been a lot of, it's been a very. I'm sorry, my cat wants to interrupt me. It's been a lot of informal. If I'm trying, okay, and then she's gonna get on top of my chair. Thanks. There's no respect. I get no respect around
It's
here.
our co-host, the cat. It's
Tally,
fine.
Tally
Everything's
Zora
fine.
Vos Torres. Hello, and she's on my finger. Thank you. Are you a parrot now? Can I help you? Oh my God, get down.
The podcast is over.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So I'm gonna have to hold her like this for a bit. So now today's podcast is we're gonna be a little fun, and it's gonna be a lot of weebness going on today. And then we're gonna be talking about anime. Anime. And then
For it.
there's always gonna be people on the internet. They're like, "Oh, you get to watch Japanese cartoons." It's not just that. It is not
In
just
that
that.
exact voice, actually. In
It
that
is.
exact voice.
And
Yeah.
they're probably the same ones who like to punch drywalls and drink Mountain Dew and say a lot of fucked up shit.
I wouldn't. I would have chosen Mountain Dew, but fine.
Nah. But yeah, no, anime is such in a different spot than what it was when I was growing up with it. When my first anime that I could remember honestly was Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z. Those were my like, and then obviously there was Card Captors. I think that's what it was called. Yu Yu Hashiko, like the good old Toonami era of Cartoon Network. That was me coming home
Rurouni
from
Kenshin.
school watching
Yeah.
all those.
Yeah.
Where did you start with anime, Key? So tell me what
Oh
started you on it.
man. I'll be honest, man. I actually didn't get into anime until like I was out of high school,
Mm-hmm.
and so I remember I was living in the dorms at the time when I was in college, and my buddy down the hall, he was like, "Hey, I've got this thing I want to watch. You want to watch it with me?" I'm like, "All right." So he sits me down, and I'm like, "What is this thing? Like, what is going on?" Uh, it was Neon Genesis Evangelion,
Oh.
right? And so I started with Neon Genesis Evangelion, as well as like Ghost in the Shell standalone complex.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hands down, just still to this day, like some of the most impactful and impressive animes I've ever watched. You know what I mean? And I've watched a bunch of anime since then, but like those two animes basically got me started in the whole thing. Um, and I think part of it was the way that they told the story in the world, the way they built the world. Like I like when I like reading too, and most of the time I read a lot of like fantasy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Sci-fi is not so much. I do read sci-fi too, but mostly fantasy. But for anime, I was like tossed into this like kind of like sci-fi, cyberpunk kind of style genre, into this like kind of like alternate future kind of storyline type thing. And so like I don't think I've ever grown out of that. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've watched like fantasy anime and stuff like that, but I love sci-fi and cyberpunk genre anime. I think it's fantastic. I think it's for me, especially when it comes to deal with like the cyberpunk genre, it deals with like the questions humanity. What is humanity? What makes us human? What separates us from machines? These type of like identity questions. When I was like at the age I was like watching this, like I was kind of like, I don't want to get too much into it, but like I was like kind of dealing with like identity issues myself, trying to figure out like, you know, who I am as a as a person, as an American, as I'm Vietnamese, as a Vietnamese American. How does my culture like fit into that? And so like there was a lot of like questions about like what do I like, what do I follow? You know what I mean? And so like cyberpunk genre is like a natural like segue, you know, into that those to address those questions as well. So
No, no, for sure. And I no, Ghost Show was definitely one of those that I
yeah,
that
man.
that one was I was probably like a little bit older. I was like teenager at the time, and again, it was on Adult Swim when it was on. So trying to stay up that late, like it was like probably like midnight, 1 o'clock my
Yeah.
time to stay up that late was a hassle
Yeah.
back then.
Major Kusanagi was like my first love, man.
Oh my
She was a
god,
badass thing. Badass thing.
we don't talk about the live action. That never
No, 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 no,
happened.
no.
That's a
But
nope.
what live action? What are you
Oh yeah,
talking about?
exactly,
Live
exactly.
action.
Same thing with Avatar: Last Airbender. Just never
What-
happened. Never happened.
yeah, we're still waiting for the live action.
We are. We
That's really
really
what
are.
it
It's
is.
been
Yeah,
so many
yeah.
years. I think they're going about the James Cameron approach with Avatar. It's taking well over a
Yeah,
decade to make
yeah.
another
It's
one.
all right. It's only take 10 years. It's fine.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
fine.
Um, but no, like I like growing up, just it was like obviously it's like, oh cool, I'm watching Dragon Ball Z, they're having all these
Right,
amazing Dragon Ball Z
right.
fights, I'm watching Mobile Suit Gundam Wing, I'm watching, these mechs destroy each other in space and on
Yeah.
Earth. So like
Oh my
obviously
god, I forgot Macross, dude. Macross. Oh my god.
I never got into
Top
Macross.
three.
I never got into I at least it was never like aired on
Come
television
on, man.
for me to watch.
Oh, fair,
So
fair.
Gundam
Macross is
was
amazing.
my show to watch because it was easily accessible. I also didn't have like actual internet until I was like way into my like early 20s. So I like my way for me to go watch anime was to me go to my public library and watch the newest episode of Naruto. That was my
Ah, I
way
gotcha.
until
My
then.
thing was, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
no, honestly, I would be there like every weekend to to watch to get caught up with my anime, and I would be there for
Yeah.
as long as possible until the librarian's like, "Hey, somebody needs the computer to actually do something." I'm like, "Oh,"
Oh.
so I
The
got kicked
one
out.
computer you had in your library, right?
Like, oh,
Pretty
I was
much.
like, I'm doing something. It's like, well, they're doing schoolwork. I'm like, okay,
Fine.
yeah.
Dude, mine was okay. So there's this like, I don't know. Actually, I don't even know if it's still around, but there was this anime store in a shopping center down in downtown. I'm from Houston, so downtown Houston,
Hmm.
and I remember you could rent anime on VHS,
Oh my
right? And
god.
so I would go every week and rent a VHS, a VHS tape of the anime I was watching or whatever. And man, I look forward to those trips all the time.
Dude, yeah, when I like, so I grew up in a small town, very small town, and liking anime back then, when it wasn't like such a mainstream thing now, Like no one
Mm,
would talk about it unless you're in your that small group of friends where you knew they were also
sure.
anime fans. But it was just
Right.
not a thing that I would like
Yeah,
I was
for sure.
into. Like obviously again, like Dragon Ball Z was like a mainstream thing, so like no one would really say anything about that. But like, once you start getting to other anime, then, you're gonna
Like
get
kind of
picked
like the
on.
niche stuff, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's it's interesting you bring that up because the same experience I also had when I was growing up too. When I was younger, sorry, I should say. Um, I still haven't grown up yet. But
It's
the
barely
same
getting
thing,
there.
like the things that I was into, I was real big into Dungeons and Dragons,
Mm-hmm.
anime, all these things, right? All these things that were kind of like outsider kind of like status, right? Now, like in society currently, like those things are more common,
Mm-hmm.
mainstream, if I could use that word. I don't like using that word as much, but more common, more mainstream to talk about. You know what I mean? It's not like it's got a niche, but it's got exposure and it's more acceptable to be into that kind of stuff. So I think it's really cool that anime, specifically, since we're that's what we're talking about, anime specifically has been like uh coming up into this like ability for you to like be able to talk to people about it. You don't feel like an outsider, especially with
Mm-hmm.
the advent of the internet too, like or how we can connect with communities and things like that. We can find our people, you know what I mean? And I think that's really, really cool.
It is like the only
Yeah.
like besides like those small group of friends I had that were into anime. I the only other way that, like I could talk to other people was the website like I had to watch the animes like for free at the public library.
Right.
I had an account and it was like there was like a chat room and
Yeah.
I had my my chat room name at the time was like it was, I know I remember the first part. It was Demon Lord, and then I think it was like 16 something. That was my
Six
chat.
nine six nine
It
XXX.
wasn't- but I remember there was like at least these two people that I would like every weekend like hey they knew I didn't have internet at home. Like I had to go to my public library. Like, hey, I'll be back here next weekend if you guys are gonna be around. Like, oh yeah, we'll be here. We'll see you there again, Demon Lord. And it was just at the time I didn't think like how precious that memory would be to like I don't know who these people are. I didn't know like where they lived or anything, but you know we're basically we were online friends, but we were online friends and we were loving the same thing, and we would have
Yeah.
great conversations.
Right.
But now, me being an adult, like I've had it with you, especially in your
Yeah.
community, where you would have Discord nights, and we would watch either it was an anime series or it would be an anime movie.
Yeah.
And again, we're all here. We all either if we have our games on or not. We're in the chat. We're all muted, and we are talking like, "Oh my god, this just happened!" And like, I can't
Hmm.
believe it. And
Yeah.
it's just anime is just another no. Anime is another, even though it's not
Just throw
like
the cat, guys. Just throw the cat.
I did not throw the cat. I gently put her down. Um, Anime, it may not be like your reality dramas, or it might not be like um, your what was it like Chicago Fire or anything like that. Like it's not just cartoon. It's another way of storytelling.
Right.
It's
Right. And I'm sorry for
no,
interrupting
you're
you.
fine. Fine, keep going.
But you bring up a good point because it is storytelling, right? And so, like, we as humans, for as long as our history has been, the way that we share lessons, the way that we share entertainment is through storytelling, right? And that dates back for as long as we've been around, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And so like from like hieroglyphics and all that stuff. So like there's a long tradition, oral tradition of like telling these stories. And like, you know, I think that it's people are starting to realize that, anime is not just cartoons. Because when people say, oh, it's just Japanese cartoons, like I don't think you understand, even with cartoons, right? But I don't think you understand the like how effective these devices are to tell stories, to tell lessons, these things, right? And so like it's not just movies, it's not just like TV shows, it's like anime series, like these animated series, right? It feels so silly that when you think we're like, oh, these like basically hand drawn things can like elicit such a strong emotional response
Mm-hmm.
that I think that people are starting to realize, hey, this is a medium that can really that we can have more freedom to tell stories than we can with like actors, like real life actors and like
Mm-hmm.
real life like movies and things like that with people, right? Like you have so much more diversity, so much more opportunity and flexibility to tell really really strongly impactful stories in a creative sense that you just can't get even with the advent of like CGI and
Mm-hmm.
all these things that are fantastic too. So I think it's just it's another aspect of storytelling that people are just realizing, hey, this is a thing too, you know. And I think it's fascinating. I think that no matter what the medium is, an effective story will always elicit some type of like physiological, psychological, and emotional response. You know.
Oh no, for sure. And it so like especially when you're talking about movies and TV shows and actors like the when you find like an actual an anime that you fall in love with and you fall in love with not just like the characters but the voice actors, the people who are voicing
Yeah.
these characters, it
Right.
is amazing like how much depth they're bringing to these characters. Like
Yeah.
this
Oh,
isn't
for
like voice
sure.
acting
Yeah.
like, oh, they're not on camera, they're not they're just recording the voice. And no, it's much more than that, much
Well,
more.
okay, well, yeah. What people don't, I think, what we don't really understand, or what we don't really think about or realize when it comes to like voice acting, is that with actors, you get the bonus of being able to see facial reaction, of like nuance and subtlety and things like that, especially when you're talking about small screen things like that. Obviously, I'm not talking about like um I'm not talking about theater, because theater stage work is completely different, right?
Yeah.
I majored in voice and stage performance when I was in school. um on stage, you have to everything has to be bigger, but on small screen there's so much more room for like nuance and subtlety. The thing with voice actors is you don't get that benefit of seeing their face, of like their reaction, their the way that they um like move and gesture with their hands and things like that. Everything is in the voice, which is why, okay, just a kind of a tangent, but like why Baldur's Gate voice acting is so good. But
Mm-hmm.
if anybody's playing Baldur's Gate 3, you'll know what I'm talking about. But Baldur's Gate 3 has incredible voice acting, and not because of that, because not because of just like the incredible voice work, but because they motion capped their actors, and so the animations in that game are reflective of how the actors conducted themselves. So you get more of that emotion, more of that nuance that you really can't get generally from just normal voice actors, right? And voice actors, it's their job is in a lot of ways a lot harder. Like our job
Mm-hmm.
is a lot harder as a voice actor, because you can only rely on your voice to like convey emotion, convey subtlety, and it's fascinating.
No, for sure. And that's become a lot more.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go on like a tangent there. I apologize.
I've already warned everyone. You do go into tangents, which is fine. That's what I
That's what
appreciate
I
about
do.
you. Um, but no, I think that I totally get what you mean, and that is starting to become a lot more the norm, especially in video games
Yeah,
too, with voice
yeah,
acting. Is
yeah.
they are doing a lot more of these um, mocap work, because they want again to elicit that emotion from the
Right.
viewers, from
They
the
want to they want to capture that subtlety, the thing that those actors are doing to convey certain emotions, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
But then in just with, but again with regular voice acting, for stuff like this, it is purely just their voice, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the amount of hours that them not just having to write a script, but also to get into that character to it's
Yeah.
successfully, especially if it's a certain scene, they had to make sure they can reflect what they're not
Agreed.
what they're reading
Yeah.
off the script, but they're
Yeah.
reflecting it through their off their voice as well.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
I like the anime that really like hit like hard for me when I was watching was it was a movie, A Silent Voice.
Oh man. Okay. I'm glad you brought that up,
Yeah.
because that's like a lot of people's go-to when they talk about emotional like storytelling, right? I'm sorry. Please go on. Please go on. I'm glad you brought that up though, but I have so much
No.
else to say about it.
So A Silent Voice, I recommend this to everyone. Um, Trigger warning: it does talk about it goes into mental health and suicide as well. So just
Suicidal thoughts, a lot of
yes.
bullying. That's so trigger warning. be advised before you check it out for sure.
But still, like I recommend this to anyone even with that. Just the so it basically follows out a young man who uh from just being a shithead kid, being a bully to a girl who was deaf. And just because she was deaf, he would just bully her because obviously kids are just monster crotch goblin beings. But in the end, he is with his bullying, he essentially just made himself an outcast and nobody wanted to be around him. And
Yeah.
then he eventually, once he started getting older, was noticing the stuff that he did wrong, and he felt bad for the things he did to this person. And eventually, it was he finally decided, well, I'm gonna he's gonna take his life. It goes a lot more into that. I don't want tell more of the storyline. I would highly recommend watching it, but you for the this is another way again of storytelling is for anime that they do more than just the big fights of the anime hero versus anime villain. This is
Yeah.
real life stuff that they
Yeah.
are bringing to everyone's attention. These are like real life things that do happen to us, and for them to be able to show this to us in an animation form, to be able to show these scenes,
Hmm.
um, it's it like I there is one scene and I won't say what happened, but I'm gonna tell you, Keith. Like I know you've seen it. Is the hospital scene at the
Oh,
end
dude. Yeah. 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 For
that
sure.
I was just when it was panning off, I was bawling my eyes out. I
Yeah.
was ugly
Yeah.
crying, and it
Yeah.
was just the
Hmm.
voice actors were doing an amazing job. The
Yeah.
scene that they made was amazing. Just everything that
Mhm.
led up to that moment was just the storytelling was impeccable.
Right. And I want to go. I'm gonna go back a little bit on something that you touched on. Uh, not just emotionality of this anime, because I mean this particular anime or anime movie, I actually read it as a manga before I saw the movie, right? And so it's not just that it's emotional; it's that it's real. It talks like when Tata was talking about like, I'm so sorry. Let me mute my phone. I apologize greatly. Um sorry.
You're fine.
Okay. So it's more than just like it's emotional. It's like it's about like learning to like it's about seeking acceptance externally, right? So the reason why he started bullying this girl, because he's like, oh, this is going to make me accepted by my peers, or like make me look cool in front of my peers. But then he got ostracized, and it's like and acceptance on a broad scale, not just like acceptance from his peers, but he has to learn that to accept what he did, right? The things that he did in the past, and how that impacted his present and his future, and like learning to accept yourself and learning to accept others for who they are. It's that level of that level of storytelling everybody can connect to, right? Not
Hmm.
just like big, not we're not even just talking about shonen anime here, right? Shonen is just like just fucking big fights and
Yeah.
all this other shit too, right? But when we are talking about all these things that I can't speak for you or anybody else, but I know personally like that seeking that acceptance is big, right? And that I feel like I can safely say that we all kind of seek this kind of acceptance externally. And what watching, or sorry, what reading that manga and watching that movie, it read like um what it reinforces is that the acceptance that you need needs to come from you, from yourself, right? Accepting who you are, accepting what you did, understanding that, hey, there was some problematic shit that I did, but I can use that to move forward. And I think that that level of storytelling everybody can connect with, for sure.
I agree with you 100%. Definitely,
Yeah.
and it's so like when I see this, it's like I for scenes like this and just not in just anime, but it's also just like I would look at Star Wars. Would Star Wars be amazing if it didn't have the amazing orchestra that it would have in those scenes, or in video games as well? In certain scenes where you just the music's just hitting. It's the same thing with anime. Like
Yeah.
they have the artwork, they have the music, they have the voice acting, and then they have the script as well. Just
Yeah.
there is just so many parts that it's going into this than just like drawing a scene and these people are talking. It goes
Right.
into much more in that. And
Right.
um like I gave Sound of Voice as a like an example. Like, do you have an example for yourself, Kiso, that you want to give everyone?
I feel like you already know the answer to this question. What are you talking about in terms of what?
So like it to basically to again like shonen is just big fights and that, but obviously there's other anime that's they that make us like look into, like we were just saying, like we're
Right.
looking for that acceptance and everything.
Right.
So like,
Of course.
is there something
Okay.
else that you can
So
bring up?
so I just want to clarify when I talk about shonen, I'm not disparaging it. Like
No, 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 no.
shonen has got a lot. There's that some of the most fantastic shonen animes out there, anime series out there, are deeply emotional and touch on subjects that about it. I mean, it's easy. You brought up earlier, Naruto is like
Oh
is
man.
huge, right? Like Naruto is like, man, I I don't think I ugly cried in an anime until I watched Naruto, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and so like watching like My Hero Academia, like that stuff, like, dude, every episode, if I'm not crying, like that episode did not do his job. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Right. but but there, I mean, so I just bring that up to say that, not to say that shonen is not or cannot be emotional.
Yeah.
But for me, I mean, there's a whole range of emotional subjects out there, a whole range of uh, animes that can touch on these certain parts of storytelling. But for me, and I think that you know this, um, Violet Evergarden, 86. Um, these animes specifically, there's some others, but I want to touch on these specifically, is because I'm a veteran. I served 8 years in the army. You know that you served as
Mhm.
well, so thank you for your service. I
Thank you for your
appreciate you, bro.
service.
But as a veteran, as somebody who has, I've been deployed, to Iraq, and the things that I've been through, the things I've seen, the part of a huge part of why I suffer from post traumatic stress disorder and PTSD is due to that experience, right? And so like these particular animes are special to me because it sorry, one moment. Okay. So for example, Violet Evergarden, and we watched this together.
Yes.
Violet Evergarden is, for those of you guys who do not know, Violet Evergarden is a story about this young girl who's 15 years old, and all she's like a child soldier, and all she knows is war, right? And so she gets grievously injured near the end of the war, and when she basically wakes back up, the war is over without her, right? So like now she is like trying to assimilate back into like civilian life or like normal society, and she doesn't know how to do that because she's never processed her emotions. She never like like nobody that she's around has lived through the things that she has lived through, right? And so like the whole anime is it's beautiful. It's about her basically writing letters on behalf of other people who can't write, and conveying emotions, about her searching for her place in society, about what these emotions are and how to process these, and her pursuit of what she wants to learn in far as like love and things like that, right? And so this anime is deeply personal to me because it's about a a soldier, basically a soldier who doesn't know how to assimilate into doesn't know anything else besides war, and trying to assimilate back in life, and those struggles like really spoke to me as somebody who struggled with that myself, as a soldier, like getting out of the army, going back into like civilian life. I struggled with that. I struggled with connecting with people, with like all these things that I felt I took for granted being in the military. And then like like you can't talk to people like the way you talk to your soldiers, you
Mm-hmm.
know
Yeah.
weirdly enough, right?
Yeah.
But like it's weirdly enough, but like I identified that with so deeply. Like it's one of my favorite animes. It's very, I would say that it's probably slice of life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slice of life, because it's not very action oriented. It's all about her journey, like her
Mm-hmm.
journey in becoming basically human,
Yeah.
right? um and oh man, I every time I think about this anime, um and I watch it over and over actually, occasionally. But I always still that whenever I'm like anxious about like my place in my life, and how I feel about like the things that I've done, all that stuff. Like I watch that anime and it allows me to connect with that. Um, Even though like this person isn't real. Like it feels
Mhm.
silly for me to say this. Like honestly, it feels kind of silly, but to be able to watch a story that is about the things that I'm going through allows me to process it better. You know what I'm saying? And then 86 is like another. It's a anime about war. If you like mechs and um, you know uh fantastic artwork. Like 86 is fantastic artwork,
Mhm.
right? But it's basically a story about war, about basically second class citizens fighting a war on behalf of the high class, right? And how they're treated and how what they're going through, how they're just trying to escape war by doing good and all these things about basically like it was emotional for me because like it reminded me that I feel like I'm about to bring it down right now, but it reminded me of that people don't care about soldiers as much as they say that they care. And not to say that there's not people that don't care that don't care. There are people who do care, but at the end of the day, we're nothing. Like us military people, soldiers, airmen, marines, you know, airmen and stuff like that. We're statistics
We're another number.
to our leaders, you know what I mean? And so like that anime touches on those aspects. Like when you don't consider the people fighting for you as people, you consider as numbers. Imagine that, right?
And
Imagine all these people who have their own lives and all these things, and then they're just a statistic to you, right? And so that anime weaves this narrative of like of this emotion and these feelings really well, like really well into the story that they tell, and it's amazing.
no, and then
Sorry, I got real deep into that. My bad, man.
no, that's again. This again. This is what anime does. This is the storytelling, the artwork, just all that show was
Yeah,
doing was bringing these emotions up, and just like you're saying,
yeah,
you couldn't connect to people when were getting out, and
yeah.
anime is another way for you to connect. Whether these are these may just be characters on screen, but to you, that's not what they are. These are people to you. Just
It's
like
like
how
it's like the embodiment of the things that I'm like going through emotionally, right?
exactly.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
and like I see how whenever I play Mass Effect is my favorite game franchise ever. And it's more so just like oh they have amazing cutscenes. They oh it's a high tech super futuristic game. It's the
sure,
characters. It is the
yeah,
characters that are in that game that I fell in
hmm
love with. So
yeah,
it's the same way with the anime. Once I find an anime that I love, then that I will rewatch. It's just because of the characters that I.
yeah,
It's either what was going on with that character
hmm
or what the main plot is for the story.
yeah,
Just it hooked me, and
yeah.
it can't
But, I
it's
mean,
not letting go.
you can honestly say that about any like storytelling mechanic,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a book, whether it's a movie, whether it's a series. The characters always get you. That's why like, I mean, as problematic as Joss Whedon has been or
Yeah.
whatever, like still like I admire his work because he's always character focused, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the thing that really connects us as the viewer to the content is that can these characters embody our emotions, the things that we're going through, or things that we feel. Like, how can we connect with that? Like the story is almost like secondary. Not to say that's not important. It's almost secondary. How good the characters are and how they're portrayed and how they're characterized. Like that is the thing that hooks us. Every single
Mm-hmm.
like series, movies, like anime, whatever. It's always the same thing. The show that I really like is because of the characters. It's always the characters, right? And their development. Yep.
And then just and like I know we briefly went on about it, but we were talking about you brought up Naruto and everything. Just from watching Naruto as a kid and when it was on Toonami and like oh cool this kid is just like he's trying to be the best of them all, fucking just be the best ninja he can be and everything. And then
Mhm.
but besides the fights, like, it did go into those dark scenes of him
Yeah.
being an orphan, him being mistreated by everyone in his village,
Yeah, and
and
it's insecurity in who he is
mm-hmm,
makes him go overboard in the opposite direction to be accepted, right?
Exactly.
Especially when we're talking about like the beginning of the anime. Yeah.
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 But to see, but this was like another another guiding light for me as a kid was seeing Naruto, that he was just an outsider to everyone, and he didn't really like have like people to like he could call like actual friends or actual family. Just the way how I grew up, I always I from what I can as far back as I remember, I would stuff isolate myself from people, and whether it be my family or I had school friends, but they would only be friends at school. I would never see them outside of school.
Sure.
So you know, like at the time, like, without me being a young kid, like I couldn't really understand like what was going on with these thoughts in
Yeah.
my head and everything. But I got to saw this character. I'm like, oh hey, he's an outsider like I am. Like I don't really have anyone. He doesn't really have anyone. So like
Right.
I was able to on a certain level like understand what this person's going through, because it seems similar to what I'm going through right now.
Right. Right. And
Um,
then in that regard, and in that cycles through like because you connect with that, it makes you like it even more, right?
mm,
Yeah.
exactly.
Exactly. Right.
It gets to our personal selves, because we
Right.
start not only seeing the personal things that they're going through, but you start to see yourself in there as well. And
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
again, that goes into the storytelling, goes into the writing, and the acting of the voice actors.
Hmm.
Um, there's another anime that I want to bring up. I don't know if you ever saw this one. It's called Orange.
No, I don't think I've heard of it.
Okay, I'll have to send you.
I'm gonna look it up right now. Though.
Okay, so basically, Orange is it's like another slice of life anime. It deals a lot of
Sweet.
um it's another one that it does deal with depression and thoughts of suicide. So
Mm.
basically, this one, um, I think this one I was first getting really get into slice of life, and this is basically it tells of a story of these high schoolers. They're getting ready to graduate high school and everything, and they're a big group of friends that they have a new student that comes around,
Hmm.
and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they all start receiving letters from their future selves. But
Oh wow,
from
that
this
sounds crazy.
from this future, um, it's just about the same, except that they're this new student that joins their class. He is not there with them. He actually does take his life for whatever reason. They do not know
Oh
why.
damn.
So they are writing these letters to them on specific days to like, hey, on this day, this happened to so and so. You need to change that, and it's going back and forth from this past into that future. um but it was to me, it evoked a lot of emotion for me from seeing that these characters, the way they wrote these characters, and the way this plot was written, like it was to save this person from this just horrible thing that he eventually that's gonna happen to him.
Right.
And I just grew so attached. Like I like every week I was like, no, I need a follow up. I'm gonna be, as soon as the new episode is out, I'm watching it. I'm there
Right.
because I
Right.
have to know. Like it's like getting into a good book. You're getting to like the good part of a chapter, and like you just don't want
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
stop reading.
Yeah. For sure. It's interesting that when you were talking about that, it made me think of an anime series. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's on Netflix, but it's called Anohana.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Cool.
I've
All
seen
right.
it.
So you know what exactly what I'm talking about, right? So
Cried many
it's
a times.
for yeah, cried so much. Like I actually didn't watch it. I watched it during pandemic. And
Oh,
so like my roommate at the time, he walks up. I'm fucking it's like 2 in the afternoon. I'm bawling, like
yep,
openly weeping at
yep.
my computer. He comes up, it's like, dude, do you need a drink? And I'm like, oh no, I'm good, dude. I'm just watching anime. It's fine. He's like, dude, are you okay? Do you need to talk to somebody right now? And I'm like, no, I'm good. But for those guys who don't know, Anohana is basically a story about I don't want to give too much away,
Yeah.
but it's basically about these childhood friends who grew apart after a certain event, right? And it's about them reconnecting um with each other, and through it, they grew apart after a certain loss in their life, right? And it's about them reconnecting with each other, and then like reconnecting through that loss, and then growing, because a lot of ways, especially the main character,
Mm,
but most of them have not moved on,
no.
right? And when we talk about loss and grief and things like that, and I'm only going to speak for myself because I can't speak for anybody else, but I know that the things that, you know, the losses that I've suffered through through my life, of people that I care about and things like that, like oftentimes that grief can stop you in place, and you cannot grow, you cannot move forward because you're so stuck at this like wall of grief, right? You cannot move forward with that. And watching this anime reminds me of like how being stuck felt like. You know what I mean? Like basically you're just like not even living at that point. You're just like spinning your wheels, just surviving,
You're just a
you know?
husk.
Yeah, you're just like you're just nobody, because like you can't move on because you're so consumed by this grief and this loss that you cannot do anything else. Yeah. And so watching that anime allowed me to like just revisit those feelings, you know, and like you know, like when I finally got help for my PTSD and stuff like that, and I was able to move forward, like how much better my life was because I did that, you know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
like watching this anime, I'm like, oh dude, yeah, I was totally there. I feel this. I feel for these kids now. And like and I think about like, oh, these guys aren't even real, you know, these characters are not real, right? But you're like, man, I feel for this kid, like I've been in
Mm.
his shoes, all this stuff, right? And not, again, just like any movie show, TV show or movies or anything like that, dude, the way we connect with our the characters in any type of like production like this, or like whether it's in a book or not, like that connection is really important. That draws us in, that allows us to like really extol the virtues of like the medium that we're like watching or reading and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, Anohana. So as Anohana, the flower we saw that day, I had to go back in
Yep.
my watch list. I have it bookmarked.
Uh-huh.
But that one again, like same with Kiso, like his roommate found him. My roommate also found me because that was also during the pandemic time. And but this was at like
Bawling, man, just like crying, bro. I was like, I was
this
losing
was
it.
at the dead of night because I was bored, couldn't find anything to watch, and I decided to binge watch all this. And I have headphones on. I'm not hearing anything. I was in the dark in my room watching this at night, and my
Yeah,
roommate
yeah.
apparently opened the door, and because he went to go use the bathroom, he just hears me sobbing. He's like, "What's wrong? Are you okay?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm watching this scene." I was like, explaining to him everything. He's like, "Really?" And he loves anime too, but he thought like something out there. He thought I was like actually going like I was
Right.
in danger or
But
something.
think how amazing that is for something as simple as like, and people would push off as like, hey, these are just like animated like cartoons and stuff like that, Japanese cartoons, right? For that to elicit that level of response is incredible. That's incredible storytelling,
It
dude.
is, it
Right?
is.
We have to acknowledge that. That is incredible storytelling when it can elicit that level of response. It's incredible.
No,
So I have a question for you. I have a question
yes,
for you, real
yes.
quick. What, like, out of all the anime like genres and everything that you watch, like, what is your favorite genre?
Oh, I mean, it really is an easy one for me. It's ever since I was a kid, but it is the mech genre.
Mecha genre,
It
of
is always going to be
course.
the mech genre, whether it's 86,
Dirty
it's
mecha genres.
Darling the Franxx, um, Gundam or Code
Yeah, fucking
Geass.
Gundam. Oh,
Uh,
Code Geass, dude. Yeah, let's go.
Code Geass. Now that one, I recommend that to everyone who is a mech anime fan.
Hmm.
More
Yeah,
so, just because the voice acting in that is amazing on the dubbed and the sub side. I don't care which one you
yeah.
watch. Now there is certain animes I'd rather watch in sub over dub, and vice versa. It just depends on how what I think of the voice actor. But I have a lot of love for the dubbed one because the main character that voice acts the voice actor for the main character his name is Johnny Young Bosch. He I also knew him growing up as not in real life. I'm talking about on the small screen. He was the second Black Ranger in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and I was a
Ah, okay.
big Power Rangers fan growing up. So when I
Yeah, I
found out
gotcha. I
that was
gotcha.
him, I thought he was into voice acting. I'm like, what else have you done? And I found out he's Kurosaki Ichigo in Bleach as well.
No, what?
Yes, yes, for the dubbed
That's
version.
him?
Yes.
No, dude. What?
Like just like, and now just me knowing like watching so much more anime, and whether it
Yeah.
be dubbed or subbed, in whenever start recognizing voices, I'm like, okay, open up IMDb. Who are you? I know you're from somewhere. I know you are, and now I'm starting to connect these characters. I'm like,
Mhm.
just it goes into just the talents of the people who the
Yeah.
voice actors, because you in one anime, like they'll be like the funny, quirky character, but then in the next one, they're like the villain, and they are completely changed their persona
Yeah.
of what you
Yeah.
thought they were to prior to
Yeah.
this, and just it's just amazing the ability and talent that these people have to where
Yeah,
they can just change
and
on a
like
dime.
right. And so like it's really interesting because like first of all, I'm a huge snob. I'm a huge sub snob. Like I would rather watch sub
Oh
than I
my
watch
god,
dub,
come
right?
on.
Because no, but hear me out. For so long, the for at least for for anime in the anime genre, the pool of voice actors that are willing to do that was so small.
Mm-hmm.
And so the talent that they got for it, and nothing against the guys who did it, because I'm sure they fucking did their damnedest, right? But the talent wasn't as impressive
Mm-hmm.
as it is now,
Yeah.
right? And so you're looking at guys who are like, I mean, to be perfectly honest, and not to like hurt nobody's feelings, but like these guys are like your B team, your C team, your third string like voice actors who who can't capture our attention as much.
Yeah.
Whereas like nowadays and like for your voice actors in anime, you have like character like people like Jennifer Hale. Like
Mm-hmm.
fucking Jennifer Hale is like legendary voice actress,
God,
right?
fucking love her so
Right?
much.
I agree with you
I love her so
100%.
much. My
Yeah.
femship. Oh.
Oh, dude, yeah, I'm with you, man. But like, I think because of the growth of anime and how mainstream it has like kind of inserted itself into our conversation, into our like kind of like societal conversation. Now it's become more attractive to like voice actors who are incredibly talented. Like we talking about Andy Serkis, who's a character actor, but he's a incredibly talented voice actor,
Oh, yes.
right? We talk about Jennifer Hale. We know Jennifer Hale's an incredibly talented voice actor, right? And all these people, like especially like like in medium of video games and anime and stuff like that, all these like A-list voice actors now like, oh, okay, I don't have to just do like animated like Pixar shit. Like I can do like some really deeply emotional like stuff with
Yeah.
anime, and it's very very cool, man.
No, it's awesome to see like the A tier actors. They're now they're
Yeah,
expanding the horizons.
yeah,
Just like
yeah,
if we're bringing up video games, it's just like Norman Reedus with
yeah.
Death Stranding.
Death Stranding. Come on, man.
I haven't played that game. I have not played it.
Okay,
So
okay.
just
If you do,
like
if okay, just because we're not, this is not our topic.
yeah, yeah.
But if you do, just keep in mind, I could not figure out if I liked that game or not.
Okay.
I played it for a while, and
Uh-huh.
I was like, "This is intriguing,"
Yes, that's what I've been
but
told.
I couldn't decide if I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't decide if the game was good.
Yep.
I just did it because, I mean, Norman Reedus is Norman Reedus, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also shout out to Davey in the chat. In all caps, Jennifer Hill is queen. She is a national fucking treasure. Yes, she is.
Oh,
Yes, she is. But yeah, no, and like another A tier actor that talks about he loves anime, that he growing up and everything. Michael B. Jordan, and
yes.
he is also in an anime,
Yeah.
Genlock. That's
Yes, he
another
is.
that's another mecha one. I never got to finish season 2, so I need to get back to that. But that's just amazing to see that it's again mainstream. I know you don't like using that word, but it's more becoming a more accepted thing now.
Oh,
It's become
absolutely,
more
dude.
commonplace.
Yeah, dude, when we talk about Henry Cavill and Henry Cavill, his obsession with fucking Warhammer
Yeah.
40K, like, come on, dude. Like,
Yeah.
that dude is a fucking like PC gamer. He
Mm-hmm.
fucking loves Warhammer, D&D, all this shit, right? You're looking at these guys are like, oh, okay. So these people that these like famous actors that I know, they're also into this stuff, right? So it's cool. I think it's fantastic.
It
I think it's
is.
fantastic.
It is. Man, we've been. Well, how long have we been going for? For like almost an hour. Damn.
That's it.
Yeah, it's been about almost an hour. It feels like
Only
we've
an
been.
hour.
Oh, I know. I know.
Warhammer literature alone. You're right. You're right, Davey. You're right.
Okay.
Oh, it's so good. Read Gaunt's Ghost. Gaunt's Ghost. Amazing. Amazing book series.
I've had a fantastic time with the Kiso. I appreciate you so much for coming on here to weeb out with me as much as we have.
Okay. Are you kicking me out?
I mean, I want to have some special alone time with you, so yeah.
Sweet.
Where can everyone find you, Kiso, outside of here?
Okay. So I do stream. I stream on generally on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 o'clock CST. Like I said, I play narrative and story games. I'm a really big indie fan. I love what developers are doing in the indie space and how they. For me, indie developers are like family-owned restaurants. Like
Oh
they're always
yeah.
pushing the envelope about like what is acceptable or what how can we set ourselves apart, right? AAA gaming like studios for me are just like resting on their laurels and just like making money for their IPs that they've just recycled year after year. EA games. Anyways, so I play a lot of indies. I just recently finished a game called Dordogne. Have you heard of this? Did you see this game?
I have not. That doesn't sound familiar.
Dordogne is on Game Pass,
Okay.
which is why I have Game Pass. Game Pass has a lot of like really fantastic like indie games. But Dordogne is basically about this girl whose grandmother passes, and she gets a letter from her grandmother that says, "Hey, I left you something in my house." So she goes back to France to go to her grandmother's house, and she relives. She like she basically like recalls her memories of when she spent uh her childhood with her grandmother and like what happened during that time period. It does this like the art style is fantastic. It does this like really like beautiful like watercolor style art
Mm-hmm.
that is just fantastic. And I love the juxtaposition between you playing as a in modern day as the adult version of this character Mimi,
Okay.
and all the colors are muted, and her as a child when you dive into her memories, her as a child, all the colors are super super vibrant, and so it's like this juxtaposition between that is fantastic storytelling device. I think it's cool. So that's what I just finished playing. You can find me at Kisogo Plays on Twitch. If you find moderately acceptable gameplay and modestly drunk people like acceptable, feel free to follow. Please don't feel pressured to do so.
Many compies.
Many compies. But that's where you can find me. I don't really do social media a lot. I do plan on doing a lot of like since I am a craft cocktail bartender, I plan on doing a YouTube series on like video games and the drinks inspired by them. So please keep a lookout for that. Other than that, I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Of course, no, I liked how you brought up indies. That might be a future podcast, so we can definitely have you back on because I am also a lover of indie titles.
I have very strong opinions. Very strong.
We talked about a couple before, so that's definitely we can definitely look into that possibly in season 2, y'all.
If you guys will have me back. If you guys will have me.
Kiso's also going to TwitchCon, everyone. Him and our other SOC member, Joe Torres, I believe, are going, right?
Joe Torres, yes.
Okay,
yes.
perfect. So you guys are going to go.
We're staying together.
If you guys see them, say hi. Don't be weird, unless it's that good kind of weird. Only I can touch Kiso. And yeah.
If you do see me and you say, "Hey, I saw you on the SOC podcast," I will give you one free high five.
A very crisp high five.
Very crisp. I believe very strongly in the high five.
Thank you. You all can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Twitch at iTanto_. Just see a cat daddy with a whole lot of cat stuff, and that's me. But I don't make that face. Don't make that face. I see you. But thank you everyone for coming out. Y'all have a good rest of your Sunday, and we'll catch you next time. Peace out.